Good morning, everybody. Today I have the pleasure of talking to a guest that's out of state, and it's my first time doing that, which is going to be really cool. Everybody else that does shows here gets to do all kinds of cool stuff, but when you're stuck in the background in the mud building all kinds of things, you don't get to step out too much. But I said today we're going to step out of our bubble even more. Usually we do Marana and Oro Valley, but I find that there's a real possibility for us to learn things today with the guests that I'm going to bring on. I've been working with Parker for a few years now, and I had a conversation with him, and he continues to really blow my mind on things that he's doing, seeing the activity that he has, and I myself have started to learn from some of the things he's doing. So that's why we're going to talk to him today. Parker's going to join us here in a bit, and he's in 4 Oaks, North Carolina, is where he's doing business out of, and we've helped him with a couple different things, but. I get to follow up the infamous Christopher DeSimone on Mondays. And if you haven't listened to Wake Up Live yet, you really should. I feel like that show is really breaking some barriers, just giving people the opportunity to use a long form platform to talk about things more. I know there was a lot of political talk, a lot of national, a lot of local. And, with that being said, we're moving into this Monday. I want to provide an opportunity for all of us to learn and experience things from another state. Again, I know some of you are like, oh, it's Marana and Oro Valley. But what I'm hoping is that you can take some of the stuff we talk about today and apply it into so many other things. And I am monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions or you want to ask Parker something, feel free to do so. Like I said, I'm not going to think of all kinds of questions all the time, but I don't mind help from the audience in regards to this. So, but before we I think we should just bring on Parker. What do you think, Shay? Shay's in the box. We ready to rock and roll? All right, let's bring him in. Parker, how are you?
Good. Hope you guys are.
Yeah, man, we're good. We're dealing with, I think it's like going to be 93 today for the high, still here in the desert, and we got rain yesterday in the desert for a couple hours, which is, something we really take pride. It's like the monsoon season here, so we really take pride in the little bit of rain that we get this year. And we're moving into that. How's weather over there, man?
It's pretty consistent here lately. A little on the dry side, but we're hanging around the lower 80s.
Yeah, so for the listeners and viewers, where are you at?
So I'm in a town called 4 Oaks, North Carolina. If anybody's familiar with major interstates in the East Coast, you have I-95 and I-40 where they intersect. I'm about 5 miles north of there.
What's the population of that area?
Ooh, getting into questions I'm not sure of. I really don't know.
You give me
I
a
could look it up, but I don't know.
We can-
It's a relatively small town. I mean, we're 45 minutes from Raleigh, which is the capital, and probably 2.5 hours-ish, 2.5 hours from Charlotte. So we're definitely on the East Coast side, but as far as business goes, we service all of North Carolina, and 95% of the time we can make it feasible to do so.
Yeah, so you're serving so much more than just 4 Oaks for the listeners.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Where would you say most of your business takes place at?
We do a lot in We do a lot kind of northeast of Raleigh. That seems to be a majority of where our work is. We get a lot of work out west towards Greensboro, High Point area. We do a lot out there as well. But different contracts will kind of take us to different areas. Different clients, as far as private clients, they'll take us to different areas. For example, we have clients, kind of one-off clients that are at the coast. We've done work at the coast, brought things back close to 4 Oaks, vice versa. We did a job here recently where we picked up in Waxhaw, North Carolina, which is just west of Charlotte, and we took it all the way to Black Mountain, North Carolina, which is very far east. In the heart of the hurricane aftermath and devastation that happened out there, that was pretty tricky to navigate.
Yeah, there are a lot of roads that still aren't open. A lot of infrastructure still
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think people understand the amount of damage that happened out in the area. You get little bits of video and stuff like that, but I think you can give some real perspective on that. You're seeing it on the ground, and you're saying there's still infrastructure still not put together enough to get into certain areas, and we're almost a year out.
They're still trying to put roads back together that were 2-lane roads. They're just trying to get one lane in there.
Wow.
Pictures and videos do not do it justice. I've been up there twice since it happened, and every time we go to a different area up there, we go through somewhere. It is incredible how much they've done within a year. But at the same time, there's still so much more to do. I mean, there's lakes up there that they had to drain because there was so many trees and sediment that got into the lakes. They've had to drain them
Wow.
and reconstruct the lake bottom.
Holy cow. Holy cow. All right, Parker. So let's get into who you are, and you're wearing your company's hat right now. So let's talk about who you are, how you got to American Shed Movers. Even the businesses before that, what led up to it, how you thought of the idea.
So, a little backstory about me. I've been in business for myself since 2020. We've been across 4 different industries with 4 different businesses, and 3 out of those 4 are very successful, including the one we're in now. Got my start in lawn care and landscaping, took off very quickly. We wanted to diversify into 2 different industries. We started a dumpster rental company, which you know all about. You've helped us with that. That was very successful. We ended up selling it along with the lawn care. We tried another industry that didn't really work for us. We couldn't get it off the ground. It happens. But we went through a transitional period after selling the lawn care dumpster rentals. We kind of sat back and like, okay, what do we want to do? Do we want to continue to be in business for ourselves? When I say ourselves, my wife and I. Do we want to continue the self-employed small business owner route, or do we want to go a different route? We did try a short period of a different route. Didn't work out for us. Didn't work for me. So we decided to start something else. It took us a little while to figure out what we wanted to do. I like to be in niche markets, or I wanted to be in a niche market. The lawn care and landscaping, dumpster rentals, that's a very saturated market. They're everywhere, especially in my area, being that I am in the the county that I'm in. I live almost in the heart of it. So I mean, there's dumpster rental contractors everywhere, and I'm sure I don't know how it is out there, but around here, if you can drive 10, 15 miles and not pass a lawn care or dumpster rental company, whether it be on the road or a dumpster at a property, that's rare. But as far as how we found out, kind of learned about the industry, it was always something like you'd see the buildings at the dealerships. Um, Never really clicked how they got there, or is that something I would consider doing. I actually have a financial and business mentor that kind of tipped me off to it. He had some work done by a local company and was like, "Hey, this is something that might be a fit for you." He knew we were in kind of a transitional period. He's like, "Hey, this might be something you would want to look into," which we did, and here we are now.
Wow. I'm gonna address a comment. Hey Cosmo in the comments. We saw you last week, and thanks for coming back. We appreciate you. Yeah, we are multi-streaming, and we have a lot of listeners on our app, our radio app. You can download it anywhere in the U.S. So if you have any questions regarding that, you can visit the website. Good to see you back, Cosmo. So you got a tip, right? And you went for it. There's a lot of risk that comes with it, and you talked about you and your wife trying something else. Did you guys enter the workforce again briefly and then go, hey, I just don't want to do that? Or did you try another entrepreneurial adventure? What did you do there?
So my wife's always been employed. Thankfully, she's worked from home for the past 5.5 years, 6 years. She's worked from home, which has been great for us. Been consistent. I've been self-employed that entire time. We did go through a brief period where I worked for a municipality organization within public safety, and it's kind of a scratch I wanted to itch. But it was one of those things like if you didn't try it, something you may regret one day not trying it. Well, I tried it. The itch has been scratched. We've moved on from that. We tried a short leg with with an employer. Tried something new, which you know all about. That's what I'm
Yeah.
referring to. We attempted that. Didn't really work out. Wasn't a good fit for me, but that was when we transitioned back into the entrepreneurial, self-employed side of things.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, it's the living with regret thing. I think it's always good to give something a shot instead of wondering what's going to happen if I don't do anything or if I'm just going to sit in the same place. It's one of those challenging parts of life where I think a lot of people get stuck is making that decision. And I had shared this morning. It's like there's really no ready time. You just got to make a decision. That's the key thing. And one thing I've noticed about you is you've been flexible in all these things, right? And there wasn't any, oh man, I'm in a bad spot or I'm super negative. I'm the victim in here, and like because I see that a lot. I don't know why, but that happens a lot, especially in the area you're in. I just don't get it. People will try to like blame something else and other circumstances where it's like you can build stuff. You gotta make the decision to do so. And if something's not working, it's okay to move on and do something else. I think that's one thing that I've learned and people have learned here and my mentors have shown is just be flexible, be understanding, be open to things, right? And you have moved into different industry pieces while we've known each other and we started helping you with American Shed Movers. So what is American Shed Movers and what does it do? How does it serve folks? Because you talked about the whole span of the state. So what do you guys do exactly?
So there's four main parts. So we are a transportation company essentially. We are not involved in any construction of sheds or portable buildings. We are just strictly a transportation company for them. So there's four main avenues within the shed industry as far as income. Starting from the beginning, kind of where the shed creates, there's what we call inventory, which goes from the manufacturer to the dealerships. Then we have deliveries going from the dealerships to customers that purchase them. And then on that same aspect, these are all rent to own buildings, unless the contract's paid them for, they buy them outright. But the rent to own buildings, they can get behind on them. We also do repossessions. So if you purchase a building rent to own, you get behind on your rental agreement. We will go pick those buildings back up, take them back to the lot.
Oh,
And then
wow.
last but not least, which is the most intriguing, the part that I like the most is the private sector. Individuals, just everyday citizens call and say, hey, I'm moving, I bought a building, or I need to move in my yard, I need to move from point A to point B. And you're working with that client directly. That's where there's usually a lot more work that goes into it, but there's benefits to that, financial benefits to that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
So you do repossessions of these buildings. Have you had any
Correct.
crazy story or situation? I mean, so out here we have like constables and stuff like that, and they kind of get involved with different things. So I was just kind of wondering, like, if you've had anything happen where you're kind of like, "Whoa, hands
I
off."
wouldn't say
Oh,
whoa. There's certainly been incidents. We're not going to get confrontational over a building.
right.
We have a very, very clear contract. The customers do, and they um, take financial responsibilities for the building when they purchase the buildings. Um, there's very clear um, guidelines as to what would happen if they were to become delinquent or behind on their rental agreement. For example, when they sign that contract, they forfeit their right to when the building's brought in and rental on rent to own. The building has to be accessible at all times. So if a fence has to be moved to put the building in, that fence has to be. We have to have access to it at all times for the purpose of repossessions. We've had situations where people will buy a building, put it in their backyard, and then have a fence built around it, and the fence isn't big enough for the building to come out of. Well, when we go to repossess them, we have to take the building down. It says in our contract we can use whatever means necessary to gain access to the building.
Wow.
As a contractor for a repossession company, there is zero liability that's on me, none. Septic systems, driveways, fences, whatever it may be. The only way we can be held liable is if it's known negligence, if we intentionally do something that would cause damage. That is the only form of liability we have when it comes to repossessions. And it's one of those things, it's in their contract. They have to sign and acknowledge that if they get behind and we have to come get it, we're not responsible for damage to the building, the contents that is theirs within the building, or the property. None. Um, which is it's almost required in some of these situations because, for example, septic. If we go to maneuver a truck trailer or a piece of equipment on a piece of property that we don't know, we have no way of knowing if something happens, we didn't know. But we've had people try to block us in with vehicles and get in the buildings and all kinds of stuff. We've had the law called on us more than once.
Oh,
It's just one of those things. I find it entertaining because these people they don't. I don't think they realize what they sign. I don't, and if they do, they don't think we're actually going to do it. But
Yeah.
we go and take fences down. We'll move stuff out of the way. We've had people block buildings with vehicles, thinking we can't get to them. We'll go to the backside and get them, literally. But now we've had the law called. One of the times it was actually pretty entertaining. I'd already had the building in the cul-de-sac, was loading it. Law showed up. They were like, what's going on? I was like, yep, picking up a building. They said, let me guess. Didn't pay the bill. I said, you got it. Going on the paperwork. And they're like, all right, have a nice day.
How many payments do they have to miss? I don't know if you're allowed to share that, but how many? Just an estimate. How many payments are they missing to the point where American Shed Movers helps out the owner of the property?
So it's not American Shed Movers
Oh, so you would be
necessarily.
okay. I see what you're saying.
So you have a manufacturer,
Mm,
and manufacturer has leasing companies below it.
yeah.
When the leasing companies, when they have an account that gets behind, it gets sent to a repossession company.
Oh, okay.
That repossession company subs that work to me.
Cool.
So usually it's 2 to 3 months worth of payments behind. So it kind of stacks up. They'll let them make partial payments, but either it reaches 2 to 3 months worth of payments behind or a certain dollar amount, whichever comes first. That's when it gets sent over to the repossession company. And that's when we come into play. But as far as when we do repossessions, our trucks, all of our logos are covered. We wear unmarked apparel. We don't give out any company information. We don't give out our names. Nothing. It's just a layer of protection that we have. Like we've talked about, we try to keep our location off the internet as much as possible, just as a safety concern, a precaution. But now repos, we thoroughly enjoy doing repos. It's a different style of work. It's up paced. Up pace. You don't really have to worry about customer satisfaction to a level. You have to make sure that the folks that you're working for are happy, but past that, I mean, it's pretty simple. Your job is to go get it, take it back to the dealership.
Yeah. There you've expressed so much knowledge on various things and various elements of your business. And, I always like to remind people, like, people don't just wake up like that and just go, oh, I know all this information, right? There's so much to learn. How do you identify and capitalize on emerging opportunities while managing what you're already doing? How do you do that?
So there's a couple ways to look at that. For one, kind of capitalizing on things, we really enjoy doing the jobs that nobody else wants to do, that look very tricky, that look very challenging, that may look undoable. We love trying to do those. We love doing those. When I get a phone call that says I've had 2 people come out here and look at it, say they can't do it, or I can't find anybody that's willing to do it, those are the ones we get excited about. There's a there's a level of satisfaction that comes with being able to do those jobs that other people say they don't want to or can't do. As far as the equipment that we have, it's all the same equipment. There's people out there that have much more capable equipment than we have. Just being a new business, we still make it happen.
What are some weekly practices you use or you do to keep you like sharp for all this stuff?
I have a number of good.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. So, like to keep you sharp to be able to do all that different stuff.
So we have a couple business mentors that we talk to that aren't even a part of the industry. That also kind of tie into the financial side of things. Kind of, I bounce ideas off of them as far as, hey, how would you go about this? What's your take on this? That would be the operations side. As far as the day to day, I have a handful of other shed moving company owners that we talk on a regular basis. Hey, just chit chatting. Here's something I ran into the other week. What's your take on this? This is how we handled this. What's your take on it? Or I'll call and say, hey, have you ever ran into this? And they were like, yeah, I have, but I don't know that I handled it the best way. There's not a lot of resources. There's no training. There's no YouTube videos on how to do this. This was one of those things that was self-taught. One of the guys that I talked to, he was taught by another contractor. He was a good friend of his. He trained him how to do it and got him started. I didn't have that. This is something I said I wanted to do. I did what research I could, found a couple guys that were not in my area that were willing to talk to me, kind of gave me the rundown. And when I purchased our equipment, I had zero knowledge. The man that we bought our trailer and what we call our mule from, He had to give me a rundown on how to use the mule. Never been on one, never seen one in action. He had to give me a rundown just to be able to load it on the truck.
Wow. I think that that's something people miss too. Like, it's good to go to school and build like the foundational knowledge on business management and administration and different things, but to have the blessing of a group of good mentors and resources you can call, I think is just something that can be overlooked, especially in today's culture. Wouldn't you agree? Like, the people are just like, it's me, call, they call out like they're the ones that are help making all this stuff happen. When, like, it's okay to learn from other people in your industry or people outside of your industry. I think that has been a big part of life for me, is not only my faith, but my mentors. Do you feel like
Absolutely. I
do you
agree.
feel like those kind of
Absolutely.
coincide or in any way? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just the faith part, the risk part, right? The scariness and just knowing, man, I might mess this up. This might not go well, but also like going, all right, I'm gonna trust it enough, but I have these mentors that can guide me through these, right? Not like necessarily drag you around, hold your hand, but like, hey, did you think of this? Like you said, or showing you how to use a piece of equipment. I think it's just something that gets overlooked a lot in this whole business thing.
A good example of that would be when we first got into the business, we would run into situations where buildings weren't manufactured. They were built by a contractor or a homeowner built them or whatever the case may be. They weren't designed necessarily to be moved, but they fit the criteria needed to be safe to be transported. But they miss like one key component. For example, skids. Skids are a piece of lumber that runs parallel with the long side of the building. We, that's where we touch, pull, push on to load and unload and set up the buildings. Well, if you don't have those, it unites the building as one. If you don't have those, we can't move them. But if the building fits the criteria, we can install them. Well, the way I was installing them when I started out, after I started installing them, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started talking to other guys, and they're like, no, we do it like this. Well, about the third time I heard the same thing from three different people, I was like, okay, that's probably going to work.
Wow.
And that's what we've been doing ever since. Had great success with it.
Good. How do you handle failure or setbacks when you come across them, both personally and
Um,
for your organization as a whole?
Whether it be personally or within the organization or business, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can try all you want to not let it happen, but it's going to happen. We took on a job probably about a month ago where it was a building that wasn't designed to be moved, and we attempted moving it. The building wasn't in great shape. It was pushing the limits of something that was safe to do. I told the client, no problem, we can get it done. We couldn't get it done. I had to stop and say, look, this is getting a little too dangerous. It's a little more than I'm comfortable with. Um, I don't think this is something we're going to be able to do. And the client simultaneously told me, he's like, hey, I found somebody else that can do it. He's already came and done it. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was a remodel contractor, and he said he was like, hey, I'm not one to go to the internet and express a negative interaction. He's like, but how can we handle this financially? Because that job we took a 50% deposit, and he was like, hey, how can we work this out? Well, I gave him a full refund. We had time and expense and our material invested in that job that we weren't able to complete. I gave him a full refund. And I told him, I was like, hey, look, we told you we could do something. Ended up we couldn't. That's not on you. That's on us. I wouldn't expect you to pay for an incomplete job, given that the circumstances were not yours. We said we could do it. I came and looked at it. I said we could do it, and we couldn't. That's on me. So I gave him a full refund. And that conversation went from, hey, I don't really want to go to the internet and share a negative experience, but, is there another solution? It went from that kind of outlook to, wow, I wasn't really expecting you to do that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we took possibly very negative impact online to, I wouldn't say a positive one, but we certainly resolved the issue for him.
Yeah. That's that ownership thing. That's accountability. I've same here. We've had instances where things happen and we call the client and said, hey, this didn't work the way we had projected it to. So we're gonna address this. And you take care of it. Just calling them before they even call you. Right. And sometimes we've had a couple times like, hey, we weren't watching that. So thanks for calling and taking care of it. And you avoid so many problems, right? If for your organization, yourself, and for your client, and then you set them up for success the next time. And I think that people will see a lot of value in that. And I always, people will ask me, hey, what do you think about this and that? And I say, hey, just avoid being that transactional piece where you're just trying to go out there and just get a chunk of money and not help folks, especially if there's a problem. Like, really focus on the idea of serving. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all doing, is we're trying to serve and impact people as much as we can. Because there's people that need help with things. They need help with moving buildings. They need help with that. And you're here to help them. We help do advertising and marketing for several organizations all the way out to where you're at, right? You're on the East Coast. We're over here in Arizona. And it's just like, the more people you can serve and help, that's the bigger win, right? Everything else comes with it. So, and then just owning, like, hey, this isn't working, and not being scared to do so. I think people get all anxious and face anxiety when they don't want to go and address a problem. They just let it sit there on the table and it just simmers, it's a scary thing. What yeah, go ahead.
Problems like that, they're going to be there, whether you address them now or you address them later. They're going to be there. Nobody's just going to forget about it and act like it didn't happen, I would say. But if...
Oh, did we lose Parker? I think we lost him. All right. Well, when he tries to come back in, we'll bring him back in. But he was getting ready to talk about the problem being there no matter what, that we have to figure that out either now or later. And it's just, well, anyways, this is a perfect time to go to a little break. We'll go visit some cool sponsors, and then we will see if Parker jumps back in. And if not, we'll finish the show. We'll talk about the pumpkin patch stuff coming up. They are doing a flash sale. There's an opportunity to save some money and get you in the gates before a lot of other people. You don't want to be waiting until the end of the month. You want to get in there and go and have fun. You want to be able to talk about it first, share your experiences, maybe motivate some other folks to go and visit it. Anyways, we'll be back after the sponsorship break.
In Marana, community isn't just where we live, it's who we are. And at the heart of it all is the Marana Chamber of Commerce. We are building a thriving community through connected business leadership. We start the month bright and early with Marana Mornings, sparking real conversations and connections. We celebrate growing networks at our 4th Tuesday mixers, hosted in exciting spaces. We unite visionaries and leaders at Impact Marana, driving meaningful progress together. We look ahead with Marana Insights, hearing directly from regional voices about what's next for our town. And we serve, through the passion of our board of directors and ambassadors, creating a culture of belonging through service and leadership. Because of our members, we're not just doing more, we're becoming more. Together, we're shaping the future of Marana. We are the Marana Chamber of Commerce.
This is an urgent message from the Daniel Gutierrez for Congress campaign. The CD7 special election's going on right now. If you haven't voted yet, now's the time to do it. If you think you're on the early voter list and you haven't received your ballot, it's time to take action. Head over to the Pima Votes website where you can find early voting sites and drop-off boxes. Pima Vote site also has map and listing of all the Election Day vote centers, which are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. September 23rd. This is going to be a tough election. Every vote counts. Make sure you're part of the change that needs to happen in Southern Arizona CD7. Make sure you vote and vote for Daniel Gutierrez, paid for by Gutierrez for U.S. Congress.
All right, we're back, and Parker's back. The good old internet, you never know what's going to happen. But we were talking about addressing a problem. You're going to have to do it either way. And I think Parker was just getting ready to get going on that. So let's go ahead and bring Parker back. There he is.
Sorry about that.
It happens, man. It's all good. So yeah, tell us what you were getting ready to say about those problems being there and how we're going to have to address them no matter what.
They're going to be there whether you address them now or you address them a week from then. They're still going to be there. If you wait a week, you just prolong the whole process. If you just go ahead and take care of it right then, a week from then, you'll have forgotten about it, moved on. That client can hopefully have resolved the issue that they had that you were unable to help them with. A good example of that, like I was saying earlier about that client that we ended up not being comfortable helping, we get calls and contact forms from folks that are out of state. We only operate within North Carolina. So when those people reach out as soon as I see it. I like to call them or text them and say, hey, here's what's going on. We can't service South Carolina, North Carolina, or South Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee. We just want to let you know that way you weren't waiting to hear back from us. That way you could go ahead and start looking for other options.
What advice would you give to somebody getting ready to step into a business role? Like, let's say they're starting their own business, even if they're just by themselves. What advice would you give them?
It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. There's going to be failures involved. Just accept it. Do everything you can to prevent it, but when it happens, accept it, learn from it, move on.
Yeah.
That would be the two biggest things. That, and make sure if you can, make sure you have somebody close to you, mentors, whether it be financially or business, or someone in faith that you can have very close by that you can talk to and get guidance from. That would be the other big thing that I would make sure to share with them.
And here's another one. What kind of technology excites you about the future of business?
In my industry specifically, tools is kind of a generic response, but tools that can make my job easier, tools that'll give me more ability to do things easier, more efficiently. Mm-hmm. Mainly the new equipment. That's what excites me. All the way down to software that saves us time. That's a huge one. We handle so many different contracts and clients and locations. That can be a job in and of itself, just answering the phone and scheduling and routing.
Yeah. You guys have a lot of activity online. Are you using any AI specific apps or software that's helping with alleviate some of those, mundane tasks?
We have one. We've tried a couple, but we have one that helps us, but it's very minor. It just kind of, it's more of an organizational thing, not efficiency. It doesn't speed us up any. The challenge with software, as far as like AI routing software, it's one of those things. Like, for example, if we can load 2 buildings on the trailer versus 1, it's kind of hard to explain that to a routing system that, hey, if we can do it this way, instead of picking one, dropping one, and then going back, picking up this one and going and dropping it, why don't we grab both and take them both at the same time? It's hard to explain that, especially with repos. Well, if you don't get the first building, but you can switch it up, instead of grabbing building 1 and 2 at the same time, we can now grab building 2 and 3 at the same time and take it to that one lot. Mm-hmm. That's what we haven't really found the ability to do. That, and with most of the routing software that has, they're just going point to point. They're going, if they've got 10 stops, they just go 1 through 10. Mm. Well, when we go to stop number 1, we need to go over here with what we picked up at stop 1. We haven't really found anybody that can help us with that as far as routing that out. It's one of those things that you have to kind of sit down manually and figure out the most efficient way to do it. Some of the repossession companies that we work with, they've asked us, hey, how do you do this? Because they'll send me a route, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go through it and redo it as long as they don't need to be done in that order. And they're like, oh, do your thing. Yeah. So, but we don't have a system yet. That would be amazing if we could have a system that would understand that and help us with that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of variables in that. How long?
Absolutely.
How long does it take you to put something like that together? Let's say you were doing 10 stops in a day, shoot, or even 5.
Well, with private clients, they don't all come in at one time. So, for example, if we get something east of us, we might stick it on the schedule for 3 or 4 days out. But then when we get another one in that same time frame, we say, okay, here's the day. And then we pair them up. And then I can look at that day. Now that we have 2 clients, I can see where they are in terms of location. Say, okay, we need to go to this one first, then this one second. When we add a third one in, we look at stop 1 and 2, figure out where number 3 needs to fall into place to be as efficient as possible. With private clients, it's kind of easy because they come in slower. But when we get handed a packet for a month that has 30 to 50 repossessions in it, that can be tricky. We have to go enter all of them in and then kind of group them out. And then, but we have to group them in a certain way where if we put 10 or 12 on a day, well, if we can't get but 9 of them, it's got to make sense to go back and get them on another day. So we're not making a special trip back out there just for 3. So
Wow.
it can get a little complicated. That's where you have to sit down yourself and you have to look at the size of the building, how far they are apart, what areas they're in. If they're in the mountains, they're going to be harder to get. They're going to take longer to get. You go out east, more than likely it's going to be flatter ground, but typically it's softer out that way. So there's a ton of variables. Softer, for example, the bigger you go and the softer the ground is, the sandier the ground is, the more you're going to have to pay attention to what you're doing and give yourself the proper amount of time.
Yeah. That's a lot of moving parts, man. Where do you see your industry in the next 3 to 5 years? Because like you said, you do like niche markets. So what do you see the next 3 to 5 years? Are you seeing? I don't even know because I'm so unfamiliar with what you do because I haven't seen that around here much, or maybe I'm missing it. But what do you see competition wise? I mean, what's going on with it?
It is growing.
It is.
Shed dealerships around here are popping up everywhere. The companies that I'm working for, just in the year I've been in this industry, more than one of the companies that I work for, they've added locations.
Are people
It is
living?
certainly growing. Say
Are
that
they?
again?
Are people buying these to live in?
Some are, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're using those tiny homes. Absolutely.
Wow.
When the tragedy struck the mountains in North Carolina,
Mhm.
there were several manufacturers and several drivers that were donating buildings and donating their time and expenses to take buildings up there so people had somewhere to stay, to get them out of a tent or to get them out of their vehicles. But no, we see it on a regular basis. We move tiny homes. Absolutely.
Wow. That's really cool to hear the story about the donating things and stuff. It's always great when the community gets together in tragedy like that. So you do some marketing and advertising with us, Parker, and you have over your various ventures. Which one have you found to be the most successful tool that you used or service that you used through us? Why, and why you would recommend it to somebody else getting in some type of service industry or otherwise?
For us, it's Google.
Yeah.
We see a lot of our competition on Facebook or other paid social media platforms that they're paying for. Is the
Mhm.
key? It's not just natural organic stuff. They're paying for it. When you go to look for a plumber or an HVAC repair, do you go to Facebook and search for it, or do you go to Google? It's the way I look at it. We've tried the other routes. Google is the best one that we found for us. When you're looking for something, typically you don't go to social media. Now you'll get the posts here and there. People post on Facebook, "Hey, who's a local whatever that can help us?" But in my experience, in my opinion, Google is the place to go if you're a service provider.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think Google is still a very powerful tool, and Meta and other markets and stuff like that. You gotta be real specific on your content and stuff you're using. It's great to have video assets and different things for that if you have time to put them together and put those. But Google really is where a lot of action happens, and I would agree. You have clients in the HVAC world and other places, and it's always something you can rely on getting some good leads from. And not only that, activity to your website too. Like I think people get focused on calls, but you do get activity from your website, correct?
We get a lot of activity on our website.
Because people,
I
I
would say
think a
there's
lot of people I'm going to just call this guy right now or call this company right away. They like, hey, let me go on the website and see what's there.
absolutely. Well, it goes both ways. I'll get phone calls from people, and they'll. This is my favorite line. By far my favorite. Company name is American Shed Movers. They'll call us up. "Hey, do you guys move sheds?" "Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. That's all we do." They're like, "Oh, great. It's in the name." Yep, that is what we do. That's my favorite line.
Yeah.
But then they say, "Well, I'm sorry to ask you that. I've called 4 other places that says they move sheds," and then I call and they say, "No, we don't move sheds." And I'm like,
Really
"Okay, not real
interesting.
sure how." Yes, all the time. I would say 1 out of every 3 phone calls, that's how it begins.
Yeah. Oh, I do remember we were doing some market research for yours. There was moving companies that did have like shed or something to the effect, but you go and look and it wasn't anything they were really pushing at all. So I wonder if it's just
Yep.
maybe it's something they're thinking about doing down the road. Maybe they're subcontracting you already. I don't know. So, but yeah. So
That's something we try to stay away from, is being a sub. We like to deal with our clients directly. Like if a general contractor is doing work on a home and they need the shed moved, I don't like dealing with general contractors. There's just too many too many moving parts as far as communication. I like to deal with the client directly, the owner of the property directly. That way, nothing can get miscommunicated. I contact and communicate with them directly.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of value in that, being able to just talk and communicate and do things. I think the whole sub idea, I mean, you got to make it happen if it's needed. But, one thing we talk about a lot here is the net. Have you dealt with the net before? Your net 45 days, your net 30 days. How do you accommodate that? Is that something you deal with a lot, or are you going, hey, we got to do half now, or are you doing a prepay? How do you set up your structure the best for your industry and what you're doing?
So it depends on the client. The manufacturers that we work for, we can't get paid as soon as every job's done. It's just not feasible. We might do, for example, repossession. We might do 10 in a day. They can't pay us every building that we go to. That's just not going to happen. We don't roll past net 15. Doesn't matter the client. We will not roll past net 15. The only people that we will allow any net at all is bigger contracts, or if we have a contract period, we have agreement. But private individuals, it's due upon job completion, immediately following job completion. If we feel the need, we will absolutely request a deposit. If there's any eye to it, then we won't touch it. Do it all the time. If I send a quote out and they call me and say, hey, can we work on the price? Can we do it for this? Or, how about we say this price and we'll just call it good, or I'll pay you cash and we'll just call it good. We won't do the work. If we end up doing the work, which I've done one time, if we end up doing the work, when I show up to pick up the building, payment in full is due right then. We don't negotiate on our prices. We certainly don't negotiate after the work has been completed. We won't do it. And we've had people, wow, that's, I feel like that's unreasonable. And I have to explain to them, like, look, I mean, we didn't start that conversation. You did. That's why we won't even touch it, just to avoid that altogether. But I mean, when you order something off of Amazon, do they go ahead and ship it to you and you pay for it when it gets there? No, they're not going to ship it to you until you pay for it. But like with the dumpster rentals, we wouldn't. I won't even go crank the truck. I won't get out of my office chair unless we had payment. I'm not doing it. You get there and, oh, well, we're right around the corner. We're bringing you cash, and then you sit there for 30 minutes, wait on them to get there. We had to move away from it.
Yeah.
But no, we don't like playing with net. If that's how it has to be, we'll navigate it, but we don't let anything go past net 15.
Period. Yeah. There's a term.
We've had situations before where. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, there's a term you used, unreasonable. You ever see people posting like a group or something on social media and be like, hey, I'm looking for somebody that can do this, that's a reasonable price. And you're like,
we don't really do reasonable.
What? First off, define that.
We don't. Yeah, absolutely. We get it all the time. Well, we give them a price of $750, for example. We're like, oh, well, such and such quoted us $550. You want to do it for that? Nope. Let them do it.
Yeah.
Nope. We do not negotiate on our prices, and I tell people all the time when they're like, wow, that's a little bit more than what we've been quoted here lately. The other quotes that we're getting, and I'll say, hey, look, we're not the cheap guy. If you're looking the cheap guy, we're not going to be a good fit. We're not the cheap crowd. We provide the best service that is possible within the shed moving industry. You might find somebody that can provide the same service, but you will not find anybody that can provide a better service as far as customer service, communication, just simple stuff like under promising and over delivering. And then also we have every tool that this industry offers, we have it. So if there's a situation where, one guy might not be able to do it because he doesn't have the proper tools, we don't really have that problem because we have all of the tools that this industry offers to be able to do our job. That's why I tell people, hey, we're not going to be the cheapest. 9 times out of 10, we're not the cheapest. If we are, I feel like I made a mistake as a business owner. We do not pride ourselves on being the cheap guy at all.
It's good to hear that you have you're set on how you want to do things, especially with the pricing stuff. Because even, like the family and friends and different things like that too can get sticky, mixing Dave Ramsey would always talk about business and family not mixing too much and all that, and it can get crazy.
Well,
Man.
all of our friends and family, we have a very simple outlook on it. Very simple. Friends and family support other friends and family businesses. We don't ask for favors. We
Right.
don't. A good friend of mine, he owns a lawn care company. I've had him do stuff for me. His wife actually owns a dog grooming company. That's all they do. She comes to the house. She grooms our dogs. We pay her to do it. There's been things that we've helped them move sheds before, and they pay us to do it. Friends support other business friends. Same thing with family. My father owns a locksmith company. My father-in-law is a general contractor. Nobody around here asks for favors. I'm going to say there's an exclusion. I don't ask friends, for example, to come groom our dogs for free. They don't ask me to go move buildings for free. We have a very clear understanding about those things. Yeah.
It's good. It's good to communicate that. It really, really is. It's we're coming up on an hour already, Parker, and I'm gonna have to get you back on here in another 6 months or so. But I was also thinking maybe coming out there and visiting and see how you guys do things, just because it sounds interesting. Plus, I kind of want to check out the North Carolina area. I've heard it's really nice from a couple folks, and the wife's been like, "Hey, we should go check it out. Maybe we'll stay out there sometime, or maybe buy another house or something out there." And I think it would be cool to check it out. How do people reach you if they want to ask you some more questions about what you're doing, especially people here in the area we're in, Marana and Oro Valley, if they're interested in starting that up? How do they get a hold of you, Parker?
Google probably the easiest way to find us. You can reach out through the website via our email, info@americanshedmovers.com, phone number, shoot us a text, give us a call. Any questions you may have, happy to answer them.
Awesome. Well, Parker, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It was great to have somebody from the East Coast on. I know it took a lot out. It's a Monday. It's 12 o'clock almost 1 o'clock over there. Am I right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks so much for joining us and taking time to do so, man. I know you're really, really busy with what you got going on over there. And we wish you the best, and we will chat soon. As always, we want to thank our listeners and viewers for joining us on the Marana and Oro Valley Experience. Even the wonderful Cosmo, who continues to just be in the comments and providing us. We have an idea who Cosmo is, and we appreciate him being in the chat and joining us. It's all love, and we are having fun here at Live the Dream Media. Check out our other shows. There's going to be one coming on after this at about 10:30. Blare It Out with Summer and Blair. Make sure you check that show out. Another one, we got Tuesday Wake Up, the lineup for that one, and then also after that, you'll have the Southwest Flavor with Ron, and then Wednesday, don't miss out on Inside Track with Bruce Ash and Eb Wilkinson. It's a really good show. It's got a national reach. Make sure you download the app, check us out, have fun. Go check out the Marana Pumpkin Patch. It's going to be opening soon. We're almost in the month of October. It's starting to cool down. We're going to start providing and sharing fun things to do around this area that you can do now that it's starting to cool off a little bit. I know we've been all sweating and getting through the heat, but the cool down is coming. Don't miss out. Have a good one. Take care.